Welcome to Girl Dad Conversations. Join us as we dive into the heartwarming, hilarious, and sometimes challenging journey of raising strong, confident daughters. Tune in for lively discussions, heartfelt stories, and share insights that celebrate the unique bond between fathers and their daughters. Whether you're a seasoned dad or just starting out, our podcast is your go-to source for inspiration, advice, and a whole lot of fun. Subscribe now and be part of our amazing community of girl dads. All right, welcome back, fellas. Today, let's talk about women in sports. And while we talk about it, let's play a little dominoes.
Yeah, which is a sport.
In some places.
Is it?
It was in my house.
It was in my house and in the hood, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Seven, grab seven.
So I'm wondering, fellas, did you catch the Olympics?
Certainly did.
Yeah.
Track and field, hoop.
Yeah, I was definitely watching that.
All right. I watched a lot of track and field myself, and I'll be honest, this year it was more of the women. I was watching a lot of the women, go and dominate in their areas. I loved it. How about you?
Basketball.
Basketball.
And gymnastics, because my youngest is into
Simone.
gymnastics, so she's a big Simone
GOAT.
Biles fan.
Okay.
She is the GOAT, and it was awesome.
All right.
Even practice, she was killing it. So yes, yep, she's 10 and she is all in. So yeah.
So then when you think about who their favorite athlete may be, female athlete, who comes to mind, or who have they been talking about to both of you guys?
So for my 10-year-old, it's definitely Simone. She's, just watching her, and she knows like all the moves. I still don't know them. She knows all the moves. She did a double back flip, triple dip, and I'm like, what is that? But it's really cool, and actually watching her watch it is what's cool. She's so deep into it, right? So yeah, that's the favorite for me.
So I gotta ask, has she broken out the stuff around the house or the mats or the pillows and say, hey, watch this, watch me do this?
I wish that's all it was.
Yeah, you got to keep your insurance
So
right.
in our house, we have a beam
Okay.
and we have a bar.
Oh.
And then there's a mat underneath. And the house ain't that big. So
Is that what that is?
there's a big, you seen it.
Yeah.
It's a beam and a bar. That's for her.
Okay.
So she's practicing.
She's getting it in.
Yeah. That's,
Wow.
yeah. They also, the girls are both in Taekwondo as well. So we watched a little bit of that, but it was a little slow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
So,
is.
Yeah. And that's not what they expected,
Yeah.
but they still enjoy it.
Good. We're going to come back to that.
Yeah.
But, so you say Simone Biles.
Yeah.
Simone Biles, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Rich, how about you?
We definitely, for the Olympics this time, was more on track and field, basketball. We had a lot of fun with breakdancing this year.
Oh,
Had a lot of fun with breakdancing
if you
this year.
didn't have fun with it, you wasn't watching.
A lot of fun with breakdancing this year, but
The meme of the year.
Oh yeah, Ray Gunn's undefeated. But yeah, so hoop was big. We're Storm fans, so Jewel Lloyd in the Olympics. My youngest, Mizzy, she's deep into hoop, and so for her to watch Jewel in the Olympics was kind of a special moment. But
Nice.
a lot of track and field too, Sha'Carri Richardson and all the burners that we put over there. But yeah, I'd say our favorite Olympian, probably Jewel Lloyd, just because of Association of Basketball.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
And so for us, my youngest does Taekwondo, and so we watch a little bit of that. She wants to know and watch, and she's looking at it like they're not doing anything. So how do you explain that? All this, there's a technique to all of this. There's a point system, and so it was fun to watch, and then fun to have some conversations around it, which we'll definitely get into. But I would say for the most part, when it comes to any athlete that they may look up to, it varies. Because it's one of those things where she sees a young woman excel in something, she gets interested. How did they do that, or what makes them, get to the point where they can do those things. So if I were to get her to try to name one person, that would be hard for her.
Man, there's a lot that goes into just getting prepared for the Olympics, man. Every 4 years, and some events like track and field, 4 years for sub 11 seconds.
Yeah.
Right.
Like a lot goes into
Yeah.
making it there,
Yeah.
making it through the qualifiers, semis, finals, and showing up.
Yeah.
So when you talk about the work that goes into it, man, it's a lot. And man, I can't even imagine like the pressure, especially track and field. If you have a false start,
It's over.
done.
Yeah.
Did any of y'all run
Yeah.
growing up?
I ran for one track meet.
Yeah, you need to do something over here. I don't
Oh, it's
know.
only-
Yeah.
Yeah.
My bad.
I ran for one track
I wanted
meet.
to wait so you could write it down.
There you go.
And that was it for me. And
Why is that?
messed up my foot.
In the track meet?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. I had on the shoes that I was supposed to be wearing hadn't come in, so I had to wear regular shoes to run. That was not a good idea.
Wait, regular like dress shoes?
I mean, like,
What do you mean
you
regular
had
shoes?
track shoes. He said regular shoes.
Yeah, what?
So you mean regular
Sneakers.
Okay, all right,
Regular
all right,
sneakers.
all right.
Okay.
No, I didn't
Regular
go-
meant a whole lot of.
Yeah, I didn't go out there in my Sunday's best.
Okay, I'm
all
just
right,
checking
all
like
right, yeah.
Sliding
do what I
across the
gotta do.
track.
Hey, that's one way.
But yeah, it was short-lived, and at that point, it's like, okay, yeah,
That ain't for you.
right. So, but you know, when we all think about different sports, we think about the Olympics, and to your point, Rich, you know, there's a lot that goes into that preparation, and you know, sometimes you can get to a point. I mean, you're both familiar with sports. You can get to a point and be like, man, why am I doing this? You can be doing regular work thinking, man, this is a lot. Why am I doing this? And I wonder if your daughters have ever gone through something like that, you know, in any of the sports that they play. Ron, I know you said Taekwondo. Rich, I know your daughters participate in some things that you can share with us, but I'm just curious, you know, when they get to that place of a wall, hitting a wall, you know, what is that conversation like? And even up to the point of, how did you even start the conversation about the things they may wanted to, you know, get into?
Well, I'll say for me in our house, like, and I give credit to my wife for this, that our girls have to do something extracurricular, so they get to pick it, right? So it could be dance, could be basketball, could be, you know, whatever it is, but they're going to do something outside of just their schoolwork. And so she takes all the credit for that. But then once they start, you know, we also have some rules around, if you put your name to it, you're going to see it through.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
even
yeah.
when you talk about like hitting that wall, at least there's some acknowledgement up front that they're going to have to finish that, right?
Right.
You know, start what you finish. But when they do run into that, you know, just having those conversations around, you know, what is it, right? Is it the practice? Is it that they feel that they're not performing well? I remember, you know, talking to Maya about basketball. Like, she used to get super frustrated because she didn't make every shot. She just didn't make every shot. So I was like, all right, we're going to go watch, you know, Jewel Lloyd. Right? And she's been around the game for a while, but for her, she's, you know, puts a lot of pressure on herself to perform well.
Yeah.
So all right, let's just kick back and let's just watch some highlights of Jewel Lloyd. And we just watch the whole game.
I like that.
Put a shot up, miss. Put a shot up, make.
Yeah.
3 more shots, miss.
Yeah.
I said, you know how good Jewel Lloyd is.
Yeah.
She don't make every shot.
Right.
And it was just something about that just switch in her was like, oh, I guess. And she had known all this before, right?
Right.
But to just put it in sort of perspective in that way, like, she's a pro. She's one of the best at her craft.
Yeah.
She don't make every shot. So you all right?
Yeah.
And then I had another thing where I said, all right, for every shot you take, I'm gonna give you $15.
Hey.
That kid, hey, throwing up everything. So just changing her perspective on what good is
Yeah.
with those who are great,
Yeah.
I think was one of those unblockers for me when I talked to her about basketball and, you know, like I said, hitting that wall and how do we work through it. But you always got to finish what you start.
Yeah.
Just have a conversation around what is it that
Yeah.
the wall is presenting for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple of things on that. Number one, next time we play, I want you to make me that offer.
Right. I'm over here like,
Right,
dude,
anytime I throw
where
it up.
can I warm up?
Only for 2 games. We only did it for 2 games.
That's fine.
Because she was jacking up everything. Boy. Yeah.
That's fine.
yeah.
And then the other part of that, Rich, because I know you played as well. What, if any, of your experience did you bring into the conversation as you have those talks with her?
You know, progress over perfection.
Okay.
You know, it's a long grind if you want to get good. But just about it, like, there's so many other things you can get from the game, from many games that you play, right? The fellowship, the relationships, the camaraderie, leadership. So there's other aspects of playing the game or being around the game that you can get than just actually the game itself. And so
Yeah.
I just try to talk to her about that. Like I got, a few of my boys that I'm still cool with to this day, like is from neighborhood basketball.
Right,
Like,
right.
real true friendships and relationships from the game, right? Loyalty and some other things. So we just, the things I talk about from when I play is not necessarily the performance side of it, because that's not the most important part of it, but
Right.
just the camaraderie, the fellowship. So when I talk about it, YouTube and stuff like that wasn't around when I was young, so it ain't like I go check tape, right?
Right, yeah, yeah.
But I just talk about my experience in the game, fellowship, and things like that, and just making sure that she has a healthy appreciation for that part of the sport.
And are you finding that she's leaning into that with those she's playing with?
Yeah, not so much. Not so much. She's super competitive. Maya, at least, she's super competitive in that
Right.
way, and she puts, again, like I said, a lot of pressure on herself.
Yeah.
And Jaya, middle Neil, she's in dance, so it's more of an individual thing.
Yeah.
Not so much as a competition with others, like in terms of that fellowship part of it, but it's more about peace with self and her practice and her
Yeah.
dedication to her craft in that way. So it's a little bit different with the two of them, what they focus on.
Okay.
But anyway, that's what I talked to Maya about, who just the other aspect of the game other than the actual sport.
Yeah.
What about you and yours?
Yeah, so I've asked my girls, or I push them to do a team sport, learn a language,
Okay.
and play an instrument. Those are the three things I said you had to do. Anything else is up to you. And then there's this book I read by Angela Duckworth called Grit. You might have heard of. And in that book, she talks about trying things out for a certain period of time, because nobody likes anything when you're not good at it. So similar to what your wife has said, that's what I promote in the house. So at the age that my youngest, she's 10.
Yeah.
Anything you do, you got to do it for the season, at least,
Yeah.
right? The oldest now is going to high school. She's 14, going on 15. So for her, it's 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it changes because it's going to take you a little bit longer to maybe get proficient at something. So that's the ask. The older one has already done all three. So now she's open game, whatever you want to do, but you need to be doing something
Right.
extracurricular for sure.
Yeah.
And the younger is still kind of getting into it. But I did have the situation come up where, the youngest one was like, yeah, I don't know about gymnastics anymore.
Right.
So we talked about how much she loves Simone Biles, she loves the sport. She was teaching herself moves at 3. So there's sometimes you see a child, that they're like naturally gifted at certain things.
Yeah.
But it's not something she put a lot of time in outside of the one time she goes a week. She doesn't want to do competition. And that's something we're working on, like, what are you afraid of?
Yeah.
And I think it's tied to perfectionist, like being a perfectionist.
Yeah.
So we're working through some of that. But when she came and said I didn't want to do it anymore, it's like, let's just go. Let's go to practice. We're going to go for at least 4 more weeks, because at this point she's done it 7 years. So you don't have to continue. So we did it. We went another week. Teacher tells her, you're really good, right? That day, and not unprompted. She tells her that. She's like, Daddy, I want to keep going.
Okay.
Right? So sometimes it's just reps and remembering, like, yeah, you do enjoy this, or having someone outside of you, which you can't control that.
Yeah.
Give them some sense of like, yeah, you can do this.
That one's tough for me, man.
Yeah,
That
I
was
know
real
you
tough,
shouldn't
right?
be dependent
Yeah,
on it,
yeah.
but that sometimes that could trigger
Yeah,
it.
100%,
right?
100%.
And that's what happened in our house.
100%. Did you do anything with that thought
I
that
did.
someone else put the spark into her versus the spark coming from herself?
Maybe not enough.
Yeah.
But certainly just reminding her who she is. Right, and why she got into it, and I try to ground them on. Okay,
How-
you
how
said
would
you
you
wanted
do
to do this because, right, and so what were your reasons that you wanted to do? Why do you enjoy this? What do you like about it, right? And then it's dialogue that gets you to, and it's almost like you're leading them to their own answer. That's how I do it.
Yeah.
Right, and it doesn't work all the time, and. She may still decide she don't want to do gymnastics anymore in another year. But for now, she still wants to be in it.
I think you talk about the Olympics and more of a current sort of construct for athletes. But I wonder if you, you talk to your daughters about somebody that was live back in our day as a reference point
Yeah.
for your kids. But so if you do that, who is like the model or the ideal female athlete that you go back to say, in my day, like for us, Jewel Lloyd today, but maybe Cheryl Swoops back in the day, but
Yeah.
for your sports, who would that be for your girls?
You go, Tanner.
I guess I wouldn't necessarily say this was in my day, but in my day, sort of. But I found myself, for example, when watching the Olympics recently and watching the women do great, showing my daughters FloJo and sharing with them, because it was one thing to see them run well and do great, and then it was like, well, who owns the record? Oh, great question. Who owns the record? And then show them that person. And for example, showing them FloJo, it became, oh, wait a minute. She does her nails like Sha'Carri Richardson.
Oh, man.
Let's reverse that.
Sha'Carri does it because of FloJo, or maybe some.
Right. And so
yeah.
and so when they see that, it just becomes like, oh wow, okay. But of course, my youngest is like, when was that done? In the 1920s? No, it was not.
I was apparently born in the 20s. That's what my kids like to say.
Right. But that would be the one, I would say.
FloJo.
Yeah.
Same for you?
Like that. Well, definitely if it was track and field reference, it would definitely be FloJo. And so for some of the points that you pointed on, is that she was such a polarizing athlete in her day, not just from the speed,
Yeah.
the hair, the nails. Like folks wasn't really on that, right, in track and field, and certainly wasn't accepted in mainstream.
Right.
But FloJo was like, hey, I'm gonna come out here and do me.
Yes.
And so definitely if there was a track and field reference, it was FloJo. But for hoop, it was like, Cheryl Miller, Swoops, Lisa Leslie, before today the Angel Reese of the world, or Jewel Lloyd, or others. I mean, we're getting a lot of shine with Caitlin Clark, but maybe in that reference in terms of modern day. But definitely, back in the day, there was hoopers that was live that I'll bring up. And then you see, like Jewel Lloyd with her game today, like they pattern it off of somebody who came before them. And so, I always think it's good to kind of, pay homage to the folks that set those folks up for success.
Right.
But anyway, so that would be, if it was track, FloJo, who tons of references back in, the 80s, 90s, or whatever to look at. But what about you?
Yeah, basketball is, being in Houston when the Comets were winning.
4 in a row.
Four in a row.
Yeah.
So you see Cynthia Cooper and Cheryl Swoops and Tina Thompson.
Yeah.
So you see them and you're around that. And that definitely was, inspirational. And you're bringing winning back to Houston. Right? After the mid 90s, and then we were recruiting folks like on the NBA, Charles Barkley and others, and not winning. Scottie Pippen came in, and I'm not a Rocks fan, but but I lived there, so I saw it, right? So that was really cool. It's not so far back because she just retired, but Serena was special.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think about like iconic women. She was special. I think that she learned a lot of her skills and things from, obviously her dad was a coach, but her sister, I think having someone as good as you at one point in your career.
In your house.
Yeah. Right? And they're the best in the world.
Yeah.
What was the record between the two of them?
Okay, Serena, I do know this. Serena
that's
won.
impressive by itself.
Serena, I think 19 and 12. Or something like
wow.
that. Serena won 19, Venus won 12. I don't know when that was. No,
it's not a.
They were, and so imagine like them as doubles too. Like,
run the table.
But it's also like her influence, to your point, outside of the court.
Yeah.
That's what makes her so iconic.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, it wasn't just tennis; it was fashion, or it is fashion.
She has a VC firm.
I mean, and
she's doing a lot.
She's doing a lot,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And then I believe, if I'm not mistaken, first one to play tennis pregnant.
Okay.
So, and I mean, of course, you can't knock the 23 Grand Slams. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, she's she's the boss.
She's cold, you know. So
So yeah, and so when you think about that, and then and I think at some point, I mentioned looking into some of the stuff that she's done. I mean, fastest serve, 128 miles per hour.
yeah,
I mean, I don't think I've been in a car where I've done 128 miles per hour.
Not that you want to say.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. But however fast you got, you still adding to that to get to 123.
There you
Yeah.
go. There you go. Right. So then when you think about, just a lot of the things that she's done, a lot of things that her sister has done, and we go into a place of saying, you hear about some of the challenges they had, coming up through the ranks, and some you're like, wow, I can't believe things like that happen. I don't know that any of your daughters have gone through that, but I feel like if it wasn't that, it still could have been some type of challenge to where they had to show some resiliency. Not just to suit up and say, I'm going to go do it because I don't want to show up, but what if, potentially what obstacle could have been in a way to where they were like, yeah, I'm not feeling this because of X, Y, Z, or feel like I'm out of place, or things of that sort. So I'm just curious if you've ever been through that, because I'm quite sure their father had some advice from them, growing up and learning and playing.
yeah. There are definitely different barriers to entry that that exist as a female, and I can imagine how tough it is, right? And I think that you're seeing, women in sports, you're seeing that grow as it should, and I think that's awesome. Part of that is because of the amount of people that are actually engaged, and so then now you see there's representation that exists that didn't maybe exist in the past.
Yeah.
So that helps, but yet it's still, I think, as a society, we're still behind, right, on creating space and access for girls to play. And that's really, that's something we got to continue to work on.
Yeah.
So what that means, how does that play out to your question? It means that maybe there's, we have to encourage as dads, our daughters to try that out, because there's so much more, you said it earlier, that comes from sports than just playing the game.
Right.
Right, and that's why I push team sports as well. Everything you do in life, or at some point, and not everything you do, I shouldn't say that, but at some point, you will need to work with a team.
Yeah.
And sports is a great way for you to softly learn that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot we can do, but we can promote that in our household, right? And make it at least easy in the home to go try and go play.
Yeah.
Kids should play.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Get in front. Stop being in front of the screen.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
You're right on that. Like, especially on the access point. But I also think there's a lot of stereotypes that are still heavily at play with female, right? Like, be a mom. Be in the background. Lots of those kind of stereotypes that happen. But also access too. Like, when I was young, right? If I want to go play hoop, we go play hoop in the park late at night.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like again with the stereotypes with the ladies, right? You just can't. If as a father, you ain't having your daughter just out at the park. I'll tell you one, right? So you knew, when did you need to be home?
Street light.
Lights went out.
Bingo, right? That's for dudes, right? Like,
Go.
So for the ladies, like, it's just a lot of things, the stereotypes and access, right? So could you go to a gym that was well lit? Well, that meant you had to have a membership to get into that gym.
Right. Yeah.
We all know socioeconomics, right? Maybe not all of the people who look like us had access to them gyms, right? If you think about whether you wanted to do swimming, okay, buying equipment, getting to the gym, to and from the gym. So access becomes, I think, a big barrier, and stereotypes become big barriers. But there's other ways that you can get into there. Lots of communities have, community leagues now, and so just, giving these opportunities to these girls a lot earlier and trying to understand how you can navigate around access and the different things or ways that, you can get in there. But yeah, that's what I think, like, some of those barriers, I think, were those things, like these common, tried and true sort of stereotypes, but then the fundamental thing of access too, I think was a limiting factor for young ladies to get into there. And then we see how things play out now with how teams and leagues market certain athletes, right?
Right.
Like I'm not
Yeah.
for or against, this whole thing with Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese, and all
Right,
that
yeah,
going on.
yeah,
But
I would agree.
even some of those things playing out where you see that, talent by itself is not the only thing that's getting notoriety. So if you have your kids that are going to the gym, getting the reps in, putting the work in, hitting the AAU circuit, scoring like crazy, and they're like, Dad, I'm still not getting,
Right.
and then they become disenfranchised,
Right.
right? So, but there's probably a whole lot of other things that play with
I
that.
love it. I love it. I love the attention that it's getting.
Yeah, certainly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like-
Just think about it. We weren't having this conversation
No.
years ago,
Yeah.
but now we are, which normally starts to change things.
Yeah.
Which is what we look for.
I hope it opens up more than just. I hope it brings notoriety to more than just basketball as well. And as a basketball fan, like I love that. But seeing the amount of attention that's going into the WNBA season this year, we have never
It's
seen
crazy.
that.
It's crazy. It's a
Right?
good crazy.
Yeah, and shout out, y'all know I'm a Nike fan, but shout out to Angel Reese with her
Okay.
signature shoe with the Reeboks
Okay.
coming out, right? I might
Right.
go cop just on that.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, so, but just to see all of that attention going to it, and I know there's a lot of back and forth,
Yeah.
and I get it, but I also know that there will be a lot of people that benefit from the conversations that are happening today,
Yeah,
for sure,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't mean they were not that good already, because they were. We just talked about it, and we didn't even bring up the stars that already existed today. We talked about
Jewel
Breonna
Lloyd,
Stewart,
yeah,
Jewel
Stewart, yeah,
Lloyd,
yeah.
Asia Wilson. There's a lot of ballers, right, who can really hoop. That's not necessarily who you're hearing about as much. You
Certainly
hear
not
about-
on the national level.
Not on the
right?
national
In their
level, like,
neighborhoods or in their
or
scenes,
global
right?
now.
Yeah,
It's almost,
yeah.
it pretty much feels like it's a global level.
Yeah.
Now it's happening, so the hope is that others will see, okay, there's stars here, right? Superstars here that are better than the two you're talking about, right? So that, but then also there are other women's sports, right?
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
make sure we're doing what we need to make sure the street light stays on longer,
Right.
right? In my neighborhood, the light on the basketball court is off, but the tennis court lights are on. How do we fix that? That's something local.
Right.
I can work on.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good one, yeah.
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 I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I do think that, kind of with, and I'm closer to WNBA than any other sports, right? So I don't follow soccer or
Yeah.
water polo or anything like that. But so I'm definitely closer to hoop. But I do think that there's some tangential benefits, hopefully, that'll come from the conversations that are being had, right?
Yeah.
It goes even back to NIL, right?
Yeah.
So some of these college athletes are building a huge following while they're in college that has helped them transition to WNBA with the notoriety they have.
Yeah.
So I think the earlier the visibility is there, the more influence it has on a more global sort of scale. And, I know life ain't fair, but hopefully some more parity around who gets celebrated and how they get celebrated, right?
Yeah.
That's the hope. But like I said, I know life ain't fair.
No, but soccer has been big, to be fair. Like
Oh,
women's soccer
I
has
don't
been
follow
huge
it but
for a long time. So that's
other than
not
the
a-
rain, Megan Rapinoe and the crew, right? Other than that, right? I stay local, but yeah, I definitely don't do anything on a global scale with soccer. But I do know how big it is globally, for sure.
It is big.
For
I have
sure.
to tell you, water polo blew my mind. I'll be honest. The stuff you have to do, the shape you have to be in that water that amount of time and do all the stuff they do.
I didn't catch that.
Oh, well, the only reason I caught
Don't
that.
you? Yeah.
You know the only reason I caught that. But, I'm curious, though, if you had to say for yourselves, I know we spoke about our daughters, but for yourself, best female athlete.
Well, I'm glad he went to you first.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to name two, even though you asked me for one. I said Serena earlier, and I just can't not, right? Serena is just an amazing athlete. Simone, though. Like, this is, maybe it's recency bias, maybe it's, little one is totally into it. But some of the stuff I've seen her do, the speed of which she gets to, like, the ball and her floor routines,
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I don't know that I would have a neck. It's.
I mean, when you get something named after you,
dude,
Multiple things named
Yeah.
after you.
and then,
yeah.
and
She's
then
special, man.
it's
Yeah.
like, okay,
She's
case
special.
closed. We get it. We
she's
get it.
special. So that those are, I had to throw in a 1A, 1B.
Okay, well, we're gonna take you.
cheated.
We're gonna take you 1A. We're gonna take you 1A.
All right. Well, tell my youngest. I tried.
Yeah, I think for me, it's I think about what would I say makes a great athlete, female or otherwise, right?
Yeah.
Longevity, success.
Yeah.
If you bring up the name, people just say duh, right? Like,
Yeah.
so when I think about that, I'm gonna do something local and then do something
Yeah.
global.
Yeah.
So I think globally, it's difficult not to go Simone Biles for me, right?
Okay.
With the longevity, with how good she is, and just when you bring up her name, folks are like,
Yeah.
duh, of course.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
But just to give some shine on somebody local, you mentioned the Comets, WNBA team. We had a girl in my neighborhood. When I think about a female athlete that I've actually had the opportunity to play with and play against, and she's a little younger than me, Sheila Lambert. Like, go look her up after
Watch
this.
this. Watch this. Did she beat you?
She beat everybody. She beat
Didn't answer the
everybody.
question.
See that?
Hey, Sheila could flat out cook.
Okay.
I mean,
Wow. Okay.
cook.
Okay.
She'd come to the gym, her little sack, ball,
Ready to
and
go.
come in there with the dudes. I mean, she could cook. But she's probably the best female athlete that I've actually got to play with on a regular basis. And she could flat out cook.
Yeah.
And when she got to the league, cook. I mean, she was a hooper's hooper.
Okay.
Like just a rap baller, but just
Right.
could just go. So locally, the best female athlete that
I
I've
like
actually
that.
got to play with
I like
Yeah.
that.
on a regular basis,
Yeah.
Sheila Lambert. Lights out. West Side's finest.
I like that.
There you go.
Because I mean, not many people can say that.
No.
Yeah.
Put
No.
that out there. I would agree with Simone Biles for sure. And I'm gonna put it this way: active Simone Biles. And then I would say someone.
Are you caveating that? What does
So-
that mean?
yeah,
Active.
why do you
so
need to do that?
Active athlete is
Okay.
Oh, she's still
Current.
participating.
Yeah,
okay,
correct.
all right, all right.
Yeah,
all right,
yeah,
all right.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I mean, I agree. I think Serena is. I think Serena is awesome, and I also think I can take her on the court. I can.
Oh my
I
God.
can take her. I can take her racket from one end to the other. end.
Okay.
Okay, all
In
right.
case
You
she
can
needs
take
you
her
can pick
stuff.
up that. You can pick up that serve.
Okay.
Yeah. In case somebody needed move.
You was about to get this episode canceled.
Right?
Another man talking about they can beat a lady.
But no, not at all. I mean, just to see all the things that she's done, because when I think about as she started, and myself, I have an older brother, so I see that competition when they were, first starting. I'm rooting for her. Number one, because I'm like, well, I'm the youngest. She should be out there just killing it. And so to see her really grow and start to dominate a sport the
Whoa,
way
whoa,
that she
whoa,
did.
whoa, whoa. What you doing?
It's my play.
You laid him?
I have the most.
Oh, I thought you had three. My bad. I was counting in. I'm sorry, Chief. I'm counting
No,
his
no.
hand.
Oh man.
We good. We good.
My bad.
We good.
My bad. I
But
thought you only had
I
three.
counted first.
But I would just say, from start to finish, just really great athlete.
Yeah.
I mean, stepped in, did her thing every single time. Even with the controversy that would happen on court, she made it through that. Even being frustrated and still was able to pull it out. So for me, I would definitely say Serena. Now, I know I said active, but I know that she can probably still get out there and whoop
without
a number
doubt,
of people.
Without a doubt.
So I'm not taking anything
Men
from
and
her.
women.
Exactly.
She made a decision for the game. The game didn't make a decision for her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I respect that.
Yes.
I respect that.
Not many people can walk away like
Yeah,
that, and
yeah,
she did. And so with that, I would definitely give her kudos, flowers, and whatever it is. But
Yeah.
but really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, tough to argue with any of those picks. I
Yeah.
mean,
I don't think I would have been able to stop. I would play till my wheels fell off.
That's
Which is to your point, you got to commend her for that.
Yeah.
yeah.
To be able to say, it's time for me to step away because I'm no longer maybe number one. Wow.
Right.
That's how you know she's in that conversation.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
And women are so graceful, bro. Like I mean,
yeah.
how many dudes have graduated from their sport versus their sport graduating
Right.
them.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Most of them get the sport
Pride.
graduating them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Get that nudge. I think
Yeah.
it might be time.
Time. Well, you get on the bench.
That game will
That's
show
what
you.
it is. The
That game will show you, right?
You get juked by one of them young dudes real quick.
Right.
You can't just lean on them no more.
Yeah, lose an ACL out there and
That's
try
what
to,
happens.
you know.
Right.
That's on
exactly
you,
how
Chan.
you get there.
Wrap this up.
All right. All right. So then let's see what we got here. All right. So with that, I got to ask, what is the best advice you've given your daughter before a game or before a competition?
For me, I remind my daughters, you're always at choice.
Oh,
Right? Nobody, you only, my dad used to always, two things you got to do, right? You can't live forever,
right, yeah.
and you're always going to be black. Everything else, you have a choice.
Okay.
So I tell my kids, you always got a choice. When you get in there, you can participate, not participate, but you are the one controlling that choice. Hopefully the choice is always something for progress, but you always got choice.
Yeah. So, deep breaths. Have fun.
Oh, I like it. I like it. I like it.
Have fun. Because I mean, they haven't competed at. I mean, they're still young enough
Right,
to where
yeah.
they haven't like, competed at high levels or anything like that. But even then,
Yeah.
you put the work in.
Yeah.
Now you get to go play.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and for me, it's probably a little bit more of that is, you know, have fun with what you're doing, enjoy yourself, and I would always tell them, get the reps in at home. I say that way, you get the reps in at home, you go in there, you're just knocking it out. You just showing them you got it, and then you on to the next one. So that's kind of how I approach it. All right.
Yeah.
All right, fellas, I appreciate it. Enjoyed the game,
Oh yeah. Well, me too.
at least somewhat.
Feel like I was winning.
And I guess we'll see our audience next time.
Keep wrapping this up. All right.